The Chamber of United Species had not seen this many representatives in 40 years. 12 races, hundreds of delegates. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds formed near the top, engineered to make every species feel small before the will of the collective. Today, the collective wanted blood. The Valith Primarch stood at the central podium. His scales caught the light in patterns his species considered beautiful. His voice carried to every corner without amplification. Evolution had made his kind perfect orators. 200 years, he said. We have watched, we have waited, we have contained. The chamber hummed with agreement. The humans arrived in our galaxy as refugees, desperate, hungry. We gave them a world. We gave them trade routes. We gave them a seat in this very chamber. He paused. The Valith understood drama. And how do they repay us? They breed, they spread, they build, always building, always expanding, always hungry for more. In the back corner of the chamber, in a seat designed to remind its occupant of their place, Earth's ambassador sat motionless. David Okonkwo was 63 years old. His suit was simple. His expression was blank. He had held this position for 11 years, and had learned to keep his face still. The Primarch continued. Our scientists have studied human biology, their evolutionary path. They are what their own world called persistence hunters. They do not kill with speed or strength. They follow, they wait, they exhaust their prey over days, weeks. Their bodies do not stop, their minds do not surrender. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This is not a species that coexists. This is a species that consumes, and we have made the mistake of letting them grow strong while we debated. The Thessic delegation shifted in their water tanks. The Moravi clicked their approval. Even the normally neutral Kethvori showed signs of agreement. Classification of humanity as a Class 7 existential threat. Authorization of immediate military action to neutralize the danger before it grows beyond our control. David Okonkwo did not move. 15 years ago, his daughter had developed a blood disorder. Treatable, completely treatable with Council medical technology, but the embargo on human trade meant no medical ships could dock at their station. He had begged, filed forms, made calls to every representative who would take his message. The Council hospital ship had been visible through the station window, right there, close enough to see its lights. Maya died in his arms while he watched that ship do nothing. She was 9. He had stopped filing complaints after that, stopped making calls. He took the ambassador position 3 years later. Everyone thought he wanted to make change from within. Everyone was wrong. The vote began. Species by species, the holographic tally filled the air above the chamber. Valith, yes. Thessic, yes. Moravi, yes. The numbers climbed. 8, 9, 10, 11. Unanimous. The Primarch's scales flushed with satisfaction. The motion carries. Humanity is hereby classified as point of order. David's voice was quiet. He did not stand. He did not raise his hand. The words simply left his mouth, and the chamber fell silent. The Primarch's eyes narrowed. The human delegation wishes to speak? The accused has the right to respond. Your own laws. A pause. The Primarch nodded slowly. You have 3 minutes. David stood. He walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye tracked him. Every sensor recorded. He reached the podium. Took one breath. We accept your terms. He returned to his seat. 11 seconds. The chamber did not understand. Representatives turned to each other. The Primarch's scales shifted through confused patterns. You accept? David was already sitting. Yes. You offer no defense, no negotiation, no appeal? No. You understand what this means? Our combined fleet will? I understand. The Primarch stared at the human for a long moment. The silence stretched. There should have been fear in those eyes, desperation, the survival instinct that every species shared. There was nothing. No, not nothing. There was something David Okonkwo had carried for 15 years. Something that looked like patience from the outside. Something that felt like a countdown from within. The Primarch dismissed it. Humans were emotional creatures. This one had simply broken. Then it is done. The Council's combined fleet will mobilize within one standard rotation. This session is. Primarch. The Thessic ambassador raised a tentacle. Should we not discuss terms of surrender? Occupation protocols? Surely the humans will want to negotiate for their civilians. David did not look up. There will be no surrender. Then you choose extinction? I choose nothing. You made this choice. We simply accept it. The chamber fell quiet again. Something was wrong. The representatives could feel it. This was not how prey behaved when the hunters closed in. But what could one species do against 12? What could 200 ships do against 4,000? The Primarch shook off his unease. This session is concluded. May the stars guide our righteous action. The delegates filed out. Victory songs began in the corridors. The Veilith had waited 2 centuries for this moment. On Earth, 3 miles beneath frozen ground, Admiral Vera Kowalczyk watched the feed. The chamber. The vote. David's 11 seconds of acceptance. She was 67 years old. Her hair had gone white a decade ago. Her uniform carried medals she never looked at. Her eyes had not changed since she was 23. That was the year she learned what the Council did to Kepler Station. 12,000 people, her grandmother among them. The Council called it a quarantine enforcement, a necessary measure. They vented the station's atmosphere in 6 minutes. Men, women, children, all of them gasping, freezing, dying in the dark. Her grandmother's name was Adaeze. She grew tomatoes in the station's greenhouse. She sang while she worked. She sent video messages to a young Vera every week without fail. The messages stopped on a Tuesday. Vera had smiled at Council ambassadors for 40 years, shook their hands, attended their functions, nodded at their insults dressed as policy. Everyone thought she was building bridges. She was counting days. Her aide approached. Young woman, nervous. Admiral, the vote passed. They're mobilizing their fleet. Vera did not look away from the screen. Admiral, your orders? The smile came, the one she had practiced in mirrors, the one that made diplomats think she was harmless. It was different now, wider, real. At last, she stood, straightened her uniform. Send the signal. All stations, all fleets. The signal, Admiral? Kepler. The aide's face went pale. She had heard rumors. Everyone had heard rumors. But rumors were just stories told in dark corridors. Do we really have? Go. The aide went. Vera turned back to the screen. The council chamber was empty now. The lights dimming. Somewhere out there, 4,000 ships were preparing to exterminate her species. They had no idea what was coming. For 200 years, humanity had played the role of the quiet refugee, the compliant guest, the species that knew its place. They had smiled. They had waited. They had built. And now the Council had given them the one thing they needed. The Council's combined fleet entered Sol system like a storm made of metal and fire. 4,000 warships, 9 species, 200 years of military evolution pointed at one small blue world. Admiral Kethvorath of the Veilith stood on his command deck. His flagship, the Eternal Judgment, was 3 kilometers long. Its weapons could crack moons. Its shields could survive stars. Report, he commanded. Scanning complete, Admiral. His tactical officer's voice held poorly hidden excitement. Human defensive formation detected. 200 vessels, holding position near the 4th planet. 200. Kethvorath let his scales ripple with amusement. This is their grand defense? 200 ships against 4,000? It appears so, Admiral. Their technology profile is unchanged from our records. Standard weapons, standard shields, nothing unexpected. Fools. Kethvorath settled into his command throne. They truly believed they could negotiate their way out of evolution. Signal all ships, standard attack formation. We end this in one strike. The fleet moved, a wall of death spreading across the black void. Sensors painted the human ships in bright red. Targets. Prey. Nothing more. On Earth, in the command center beneath Siberia, Admiral Kowalczyk watched the same tactical display. They're advancing, her aide reported. Standard council attack formation. Arrogant. They've put their flagships at the front. Vera nodded. They want trophies. Admiral, our forward group is requesting permission to engage. Denied. Ma'am? Tell Captain Morrison to hold position. Do not fire. Do not raise shields. The aide hesitated. Admiral, they'll be in weapons range in 4 minutes. Without shields? They know the plan. Hold. The aide swallowed and transmitted the order. In space, the 200 human ships hung motionless. Captain Sarah Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the council fleet grow larger on her screen. Her crew was silent, scared, ready. Captain, her navigator said, they're painting us with targeting systems. If we don't raise shields... We don't raise shields. Ma'am, we'll be exactly where we need to be. Morrison's hands gripped her chair. Her knuckles went white. All ships, this is Morrison. On my mark, full acceleration. Straight through their formation. No weapons fire. No evasive action. Punch through and don't look back. The council fleet opened fire. Mark. The human ships shot forward. Not away. Not sideways. Through. Missiles and energy beams filled space. The council gunners were good. Their weapons were better. 3 human ships vanished in the first seconds. Then 5 more. Then 12. But the rest kept coming. They're not fighting back, Kethvorath muttered. They're not even dodging. What are they? The human ships passed through the council formation like water through fingers. Damaged, burning, but moving. And then they were behind the fleet. Admiral, his tactical officer's voice cracked. Energy signatures, multiple contacts decloaking. The display changed. Where there had been empty space, there were now ships. Hundreds of them, then 1,000, then 2,000. They rose from asteroid shadows. They emerged from beneath the ice of moons. They powered up from the dark side of every rock large enough to hide them. 2,000 human warships, built in secret, hidden in silence, waiting for decades. Impossible, Kethvorath whispered. Our intelligence said, your intelligence saw what we wanted you to see. The voice came through open channel. Admiral Kowalczyk. Her face appeared on every screen in the council fleet. For 50 years, we let you count our ships. We let you scan our technology. We let you believe you understood us. The new ships moved into position. The council fleet was surrounded. Above, below, behind. You didn't understand anything. Human vessel, Kethvorath forced steel into his voice. You are outnumbered. Your technology is inferior. Surrender now, and we will show mercy to your technology. Vera smiled. The same smile, the one that never reached her eyes. You classified gravitational manipulation as theoretical, impractical. You buried the research and forgot about it. We didn't forget. We spent 50 years making it work. Gravity weapons are unstable. They would destroy the user before... Fire. The first shot came from a small ship near the center of the human formation. No missile, no beam. Just a ripple in space itself. The Valith dreadnought Conqueror's Pride did not explode. It did not break apart. It collapsed. The ship folded in on itself. 3 kilometers of metal and fire and crew, crushed into a sphere the size of a ball. One moment it existed. The next moment, it was a dot of impossible density falling toward Jupiter's pull. 6,000 Valith, gone in 2 seconds. All ships, Vera's voice was calm, weapons free. The human fleet opened fire. Gravity lances, Hundreds of them. Each shot found a target. Each target ceased to exist. The Council fleet tried to respond. Their weapons hit human shields and did nothing. Their missiles tracked targets that bent space around themselves and vanished from sensors. Their formations dissolved into chaos. "Retreat!" Keth Vorath screamed. "All ships, emergency wormhole jump. Get us out of. Your wormhole gates are offline." Vera again, still calm. "We took control of them 6 hours ago. Did you think we spent 200 years learning nothing?" The battle lasted 41 minutes. When it ended, the Council fleet was debris, twisted metal, frozen bodies, the occasional escape pod broadcasting surrender. Human casualties, 0. Human ships lost, 36 in the initial charge. Every crew had volunteered. Every crew had known the odds. In her command center, Vera watched the final numbers scroll across her screen. She should have felt something. Victory, justice, satisfaction. She felt nothing. This didn't bring anyone back. Not her grandmother, not Maya Okonkwo, not the 12,000 who died gasping at Kepler Station. Her aide approached with a recording. "Admiral, we intercepted this during the battle. The Valith Admiral's final transmission." Vera nodded. The aide played it. Keth Vorath's voice, broken, confused. They were supposed to be prey. Vera listened to it once, twice. She had imagined this moment for 40 years. The moment when the Council understood. The moment when they realized what they had caged. It was empty. Revenge was supposed to taste like something. "Admiral?" Her aide waited. "Our ships are asking about pursuit. The Council homeworlds are within striking distance. We could—" "No. Ma'am. Recovery operations only. Pick up survivors. Secure the system." Vera stood. Her legs were stiff. Her body was tired. This was the first wave, not the last. She walked toward the exit, stopped, turned back. "Tell them to form up around the lead ship." "Which ship, Admiral?" "The one we named for them." The aide checked the registry. Her face changed. "The UES Kepler Station?" Vera nodded. "Make sure the Council sees that name. Make sure they remember what they did." She left. On her desk, a photograph waited. A young woman holding tomatoes, smiling, singing something the camera couldn't capture. Vera had carried that photo for 44 years. She didn't look at it tonight. Some things hurt more after victory than before. 3 weeks passed. The galaxy held its breath. The Council waited for invasion. They reinforced their borders. They mobilized their reserves. They prepared their homeworlds for siege. Nothing came. They waited for demands, territorial claims, surrender terms, reparations lists. Nothing came. They opened diplomatic channels, sent peace envoys, broadcast appeals for negotiation. Nothing. Humanity had gone silent. Their ships remained in Sol system, their wormhole network, the one they had apparently built in secret over decades, stayed closed to outside traffic. Their communication arrays responded to no signal. It was as if they had won the battle and simply stopped. The Primarch of the Valith did not handle confusion well. His species had evolved to be apex predators of their world. They understood hunting. They understood being hunted. They did not understand silence. "What are they doing?" He paced his private chamber. His scales shifted through patterns of agitation. "Why don't they attack? Why don't they demand? What do they want?" His military advisor had no answers. "Our scouts cannot penetrate their space. Every probe we send vanishes. We have no intelligence." "Then guess." "Primarch, I cannot. You said they were predictable. You said they were inferior. You said 200 ships was their entire fleet." The advisor said nothing. There was nothing to say. In the Thessic capital, the ruling council floated in their debate pool and argued themselves in circles. Half wanted to surrender immediately. Half wanted to strike first before the humans could organize their next move. "We must be reasonable," the elder statesman bubbled. "They showed mercy after the battle. They rescued our survivors. Perhaps they can be negotiated with." Negotiated with? A younger voice. Harsh. They destroyed 2,000 ships in 40 minutes. They turned our dreadnoughts into pebbles. There is no negotiation with that kind of power. Then what do you suggest? We submit. Completely. Whatever they want, we give them. We don't know what they want. Then we wait until they tell us. The debate continued. It had been continuing for 3 weeks. No progress, no clarity. On the Meravi homeworld, the queens conferred through their chemical networks. Trillions of sent messages passed between hives. Fear, confusion, the deep biological drive to survive at any cost. The hive consensus emerged slowly. Wait. There was nothing else to do. In her command center, Admiral Kowalczyk studied reports, the Council's movements, their panic, their paralysis. They're terrified, her aide observed. They don't know how to respond to inaction. Good. Admiral, our fleet commanders are getting restless. They want to press the advantage, strike while the Council is disorganized. No. But silence is a weapon. Vera turned from her screen. For 200 years, the Council used bureaucracy to strangle us. Forms, procedures, delays. They made us wait because waiting is a kind of torture. She walked to the window, looked at the frozen Siberian landscape above. Now they learn what waiting feels like. Her aide nodded slowly. How long? Until they understand that we choose when this ends, not them. And then? Vera did not answer immediately. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark glass. An old woman, tired, carrying weight that no victory could lift. Then we tell them what we want. 1 week later, the broadcast began. Every screen in Council space, every ship, every station, every personal device capable of receiving signal. Admiral Kowalczyk's face appeared. She looked different than the Council expected. Not triumphant, not cruel. She looked like someone delivering news they had rehearsed too many times. People of the Council, I am Admiral Vera Kowalczyk of the United Earth Fleet. She paused. Let the words settle. 3 weeks ago, your governments voted to exterminate my species. You sent 4,000 ships to murder 8 billion people. Men, women, children. You called us a threat. Her voice stayed level, professional. The voice of someone who had spent 40 years hiding everything she felt. You were correct. She held up a small data chip, standard Council format. This chip contains the location of every Council species homeworld, every colony, every outpost, every military installation, every emergency bunker your governments believe are secret. She set the chip on the table in front of her. We have known these locations for 80 years. We mapped your entire civilization while you were busy mapping ours. The difference between us is simple. Beat. We did not weaponize this information. She let that hang in the air. Until now. In the Primarch's chamber, his scales went pale. The data was real. His intelligence officers had already confirmed it. Every secret location, every hidden base, places even he didn't know existed. The humans had been watching for decades, learning, recording, and they had told no one. 200 years ago, Vera continued, we came to this galaxy as refugees. Our world was dying. We had nowhere else to go. Your council took us in, gave us a planet, gave us hope. Her jaw tightened. Then you decided we were dangerous. You embargoed our trade, restricted our travel. You watched our children die of diseases your hospitals could cure in hours. You called it protocol. She picked up the chip again. 23 years ago, your peacekeepers vented the atmosphere on Kepler Station. 12,000 people, my grandmother among them. They died because a bureaucrat decided their existence was inconvenient. She set the chip down. You never apologized. You never acknowledged. You erased them from your records and continued as if nothing happened. For the first time, something moved behind her eyes. Not rage, something older, deeper. We did not forget. She touched a console. Coordinates appeared on every screen in Council space. These are the coordinates of the Valith throne world, your homeworld, Primarch, the seat of the species that has led the Council's efforts against humanity for 2 centuries. The Primarch stopped breathing. You have 1 standard rotation to evacuate your civilian population. Vera's voice hardened. We do not make war on children. A pause. Long, deliberate. We are not you. The broadcast ended. In the silence that followed, the Primarch stood motionless. His advisors waited for orders. His fleet commanders waited for strategy. He had nothing. 26 hours to evacuate 3 billion Valith. Impossible. Completely impossible. But the alternative? Sir? His aide approached carefully. Your orders? The Primarch stared at the coordinates still floating in the air. His homeworld, his family's estates, temples older than human civilization, history stretching back 40,000 years. Begin evacuation. Sir, we can't possibly. Begin evacuation. The orders went out. Chaos spread across the Valith throne world. Ships launched without clearance. Families fought for seats on transports. The old and the young were trampled in the rush. And somewhere in Sol system, Admiral Kowalczyk watched the sensor feeds. The panic, the fear. She felt nothing. Her aide approached. Admiral, evacuation has begun. Do you think they'll get everyone out? No. Then why give them the warning? Vera turned from the screen. Because I remember what it's like to ask for help and receive none. She walked away. I will not become them. The Valith did not evacuate. Oh, some left. The wealthy, the connected, those with private ships and somewhere to go. Perhaps 100 million out of 3 billion. But the Primarch ordered the home defense fleet to hold position. 700 warships, the finest the Valith had ever built. If humanity wanted the throne world, they would have to take it. Pride. 40,000 years of it. Too heavy to put down, even at the end. The Emperor of the Valith stood in his palace and watched the sky. He was old, older than the Primarch. He had ruled for 2 centuries and had seen empires rise and fall. He had never seen anything like this. Your Majesty, his chief advisor bowed low. The deadline approaches. Should we not? Not. Sire? I will not flee my homeworld because a human told me to. The Emperor's voice was ice. My ancestors built this palace when humans were still living in caves. I will not disgrace their memory. But the fleet will hold, and when the humans come, they will find that the Valith are not so easily conquered. The advisor had no response. What could he say? The Emperor had made his choice. The planet would make it with him. 26 hours passed. A single human ship entered Valith space. The home defense fleet detected it immediately. 700 warships pivoted toward the contact. 700 weapon systems locked on. 1 ship. The tactical officers hesitated. This had to be a trick, a decoy, something to draw their attention while the real attack came from another direction. Scan for additional contacts, the fleet commander ordered. Check every shadow, every moon, every dust cloud. Nothing, Commander, just the 1 ship. Size? Small. Corvette class. Minimal weapons signature. The commander did not understand. The humans had demonstrated gravity technology that could crush dreadnoughts. Why send a single corvette against 700 warships? Orders, Commander? All ships hold position. Do not fire until fired upon. The human ship continued forward. It did not evade, it did not change course. It flew straight toward the center of the Valith formation, as if 700 weapons weren't pointed at its hull. They're hailing us, Commander. On screen. A young face appeared. Human, male, barely out of adolescence by their standards. Valith Fleet, this is Ensign Marcus Chen of the UES Remember. I am here to deliver a message from Admiral Kowalczyk. The commander's claws tightened. Speak, human. You were given 26 hours to evacuate your civilians. That time has passed. Your government chose to keep them here. Your government chose to make them shields. Marcus Chen's voice stayed steady. His eyes did not. We are not going to destroy your world. We are not going to kill your people. But we are going to demonstrate something. Demonstrate? Hold position. Do not fire. This will be over in 3 minutes. The transmission cut. The Valith commander opened his mouth to order the attack. Before he could speak, the human ship activated something. It was not a weapon. The space beneath the Valith fleet began to bend. Sensors screamed warnings. Navigators shouted readings that made no sense. The fabric of reality itself was folding, twisting, pulling. A gravity well opened, not strong enough to destroy, strong enough to move. 700 Valith warships began to slide toward each other. Engines, full reverse. No effect, Commander. We're caught in some kind of collided, tangled. Their formations dissolved into chaos as vessel struck vessel. Metal screamed against metal. Hull breaches opened. Crew compartments decompressed. 3 minutes. When the gravity well collapsed, the Valith home defense fleet was a single mass of twisted wreckage. 700 ships, locked together like broken toys. Engines dead, weapons offline, life support failing, crews alive, helpless. On the UES Remember, Marcus Chen watched his screens. His hands were shaking. His face was wet. He was crying. His great-grandmother had survived Kepler Station. She had been 7 years old when the atmosphere vented. She had hidden in a storage compartment with a faulty seal, the only survivor in her section. She never talked about what she saw. The bodies, the silence, the cold that never left her bones, even decades later. She died last year, whispering names, friends who didn't make it, family who suffocated beside her. Marcus had promised her something at her funeral, a promise he was keeping now. Ensign? His communications officer looked at him with concern. Sir, are you? I'm fine. He wasn't fine. He was 23 years old, and he had just disabled a fleet of ships carrying tens of thousands of living beings. They would die without rescue, slowly, in the cold, in the dark, just like Kepler. Open channel to the Valith flagship. Channel open. Valith Fleet Commander, this is Ensign Chen. Your ships are disabled, your crews are alive, emergency rescue vessels are en route. Silence from the other end. We will extract your personnel and transport them to safety. Your wounded will receive medical care. Your dead will be returned for proper burial. Still silence. Do you understand? The Valith Commander. Why? Marcus took a breath. Because we remember what it's like to ask for help and receive none. The rescue operation began an hour later. Human ships docked with the wreckage. Human medics treated Valith wounded. Human engineers stabilized failing life support. Human soldiers carried Valith children to safety. The Emperor watched from his palace. He did not understand. These were the monsters. These were the existential threats. They had just neutralized his entire defensive fleet without killing anyone, and now they were helping? A human ground team approached the palace. The Emperor's guards raised their weapons. The humans stopped. A woman stepped forward, young, dark skin, eyes that carried something old. Your Majesty, I'm Corporal Adiazi Williams. We're here to assist with civilian evacuation. Evacuation? You're not going to? No. But your Admiral said... The Admiral said you had 26 hours to evacuate. You didn't. So we're doing it for you. The Emperor stared at her, at the human soldiers behind her, at the medical supplies they carried, at the transports landing in his palace courtyard. I don't understand, he said. The first honest words he'd spoken in years. We tried to destroy you. We voted for your extinction. Why would you? Corporal Williams looked at him. For a moment her professional mask slipped. Because we remember what it's like to ask for help and receive none. She turned away, started organizing the evacuation. Her soldiers spread through the palace, gentle with the young, patient with the old. The Emperor found his voice. Your name, Williams, and your first name, Adiazi. That's not a common human name, is it? Her back was to him. My grandmother's name, was she? Kepler Station. The Emperor fell silent. She grew tomatoes in the station greenhouse. She sang while she worked. She was 19 years old when your peacekeepers vented the atmosphere. Corporal Williams still did not turn around. It took her 4 minutes to die. She was 8 months pregnant with my mother. I didn't know. No, you didn't. She walked away. The evacuation took 3 days. Every civilian, every elder, every child, transported to safety, fed, housed, cared for. The Valith throne world was not destroyed. Human forces secured it, stabilized it, and prepared it for the return of its people. No monuments were torn down, no temples desecrated, no history erased. When it was over, Admiral Kowalczyk received a message from the Emperor. A single question. What do you want from us? Her reply was one word. 1 month after the war began, Admiral Vera Kowalczyk walked into the council chamber alone. No guards, no aides, no weapons visible on her person. Just an old woman in a simple uniform, walking down the long aisle to the human delegation's seat. The small seat. The one in the back corner. The one designed to remind its occupant of their place. She sat down. The Primarchs watched her. 12 species, hundreds of representatives. The same assembly that had voted for humanity's extinction 5 weeks ago. They looked different now. The Valith delegation was smaller. The Primarch himself was absent, replaced by a junior official who kept his eyes on the floor. The Thesic seemed to have shrunk inside their water tanks. The Moravi didn't click. The Kethvori sat in perfect stillness, as if movement might draw attention. Fear. The chamber smelled of it. The senior Thesic representative floated forward. Admiral Kowalczyk, the Council recognizes you. Thank you. We have agreed to hear your terms. Vera nodded. She reached into her jacket. Several guards tensed. She produced a single document. Paper. Physical. Old-fashioned. She placed it on the table in front of her. The Kepler Accords. The Thesic stared at the paper. You want accords? I want 5 things. Vera did not raise her voice. She did not need to. They are non-negotiable. If you accept them, this war ends. If you do not, I leave this chamber and you do not see another human representative until we decide to return. Silence. Read them to us, the Thesic said. Please. Vera picked up the document. First, the Council will formally acknowledge the Kepler Station massacre as a war crime, not an incident, not a regrettable necessity. A crime. The Valith junior official flinched. Second, the Council will add the names of every victim to its permanent historical record. 12,000 names, spoken aloud in this chamber, entered into every archive, never to be deleted or forgotten. The Moravi began clicking quietly, nervously. Third, a memorial will be constructed at the Kepler Station coordinates. The design will be approved by human survivors and their descendants. The construction will be funded entirely by the Valith Treasury. The junior official's scales went gray. Fourth, all quarantine protocols, trade embargoes, and travel restrictions against human vessels and citizens are dissolved. Effective immediately. Permanently. Any future attempt to reinstate them will be considered an act of war. The Thesic's tentacles twisted with relief. This was reasonable. This was something they could give. Fifth, Vera paused. There will be no territorial concessions, no reparations, no occupation of Council worlds, no forced technology transfers, no war tribunals. The chamber went silent. The Thesic representative blinked several times. That That is all. That is all. But you could demand anything. You have gravity weapons. You have a fleet we cannot match. You could take our worlds, our resources, our... I could. Vera stood. She walked to the center of the chamber. The same podium where the Primarch had argued for her species' extinction. You spent 2 centuries believing that humanity wanted what you have. Your space, your power, your position. You built your entire strategy around containing our greed. She looked around the chamber, made eye contact with representatives from every species. We don't want your worlds. We don't want your power. We don't want your surrender. She held up the document. We want you to say their names. Admiral, I must ask. This seems insufficient. After what we did, after what we tried to do, surely you want... I want my grandmother back. The words landed like stones. I want the 11 years I lost with her. I want to taste her tomatoes. I want to hear her sing. I want to show her the woman I became and watch her smile. Vera's voice did not break. 40 years of practice held. I cannot have those things. No terms you offer can give them to me. No territory, no treasure, no amount of your suffering will bring her back. She placed the document on the podium. But you can remember her. You can say her name. You can acknowledge that she existed, that she mattered, that her death was a crime. She stepped back. That is what we want. That is all we want. That is the only thing you can give us that has any value. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. The Valith junior official stood. His voice shook. The Valith, accept. One by one, the other delegations followed. Thesic, Moravi, Kethvori, all 12 species, unanimous. The war was over. The reading of names began 3 days later. 12,000 names. The council was required to listen to every one. Representatives sat in the chamber, as human survivors and descendants read their dead into the record. It took 6 hours. Vera did not stay. She took a transport to the Kepler station coordinates, sat in the observation deck, watched the stars, where 12,000 people had become debris. Her aide had offered to come. She refused. Some things required solitude. The void outside was black and empty. 23 years ago, it had been filled with screaming, with the sounds of people dying because a bureaucrat had decided they were inconvenient. Now, it was just space. Quiet. Indifferent. Adazay Kowalczyk. Vera spoke the name aloud. To no one. To everyone. Botanist, singer, grandmother. 19 years old when she should have had 50 more. Her voice echoed in the empty observation deck. You grew tomatoes in the greenhouse. You sang hymns in Ibo while you worked. You sent me videos every week. You told me I was going to do great things. She closed her eyes. I burned their fleet. I broke their power. I made them say your name in their highest chamber. A pause. I don't know if it was enough. I don't know if anything could be enough. The stars offered no answer. On Earth, the celebrations had already begun. Humanity had won. The great enemy was humbled. Their species was free to expand, to grow, to become everything the Council had feared. Vera did not celebrate. She sat in the observation deck for 3 more hours, watching the void, remembering a woman she had barely known but had never stopped loving. When she finally stood, her legs were stiff and her body ached. She was 67 years old, too old for wars, too old for revenge, not too old to remember. The galaxy expected humanity to become the new empire, to occupy council worlds, to extract tribute, to become exactly what they had been accused of being. Instead, they went home. They built. They brew. They raised children who would never know what quarantine protocols felt like. They told stories about the war, but the stories were not triumphant. The stories were about a woman named Adeyeze, who grew tomatoes in space, about a girl named Maya, who died within sight of a hospital ship, about 12,000 people whose only crime was existing. The Council spent centuries fearing what humanity would take. They never considered what humanity would refuse. In the years that followed, human ships became a common sight throughout Council space. Traders, explorers, diplomats. They were not hated, they were not loved. They were simply there. Sometimes, Council citizens would ask them about the war, about the gravity weapons, about the hidden fleet. The humans would shrug. "We didn't want to fight," they would say. "We just wanted to be left alone." "Then why did you build such terrible weapons?" "Because you wouldn't leave us alone." The Council never started another war with humanity. At the Kepler Station Memorial, visitors from every species came to read the names. 12,000, each one carved into metal that would outlast stars. The most visited name was near the center of the memorial. A simple entry, no title, no explanation. Adaeze Kowalsich, botanist beloved. Humans would sometimes leave tomatoes at the base,